Well, about 55 gallons of ice cream, work in a freezer that's 20 below zero, and there's really no sweat in doing it.
It's been an easy job?
It hasn't been hard, been a little chilly.
City County Health Department inspectors will be visiting every commercial swimming pool within the next few weeks. The investigators will be checking for obvious safety features like self-closing gates. They'll also be searching for the not-so-obvious, like correct chlorine and pH levels. The Health Department is training an extra 10 inspectors this week. The inspectors are responsible for enforcing city and state pool safety laws. They'll also be telling pool operators about changes in those safety requirements.
We have a new state law that says that they have to post a sign that says there's no attendant on duty, and therefore nobody should swim by themselves. That means no solo swimming. And also children under 12 cannot swim unless they're accompanied by adults. So if these laws, rules, and regulations are followed, it should help.
Pool inspections can't guarantee there won't be any more drownings this summer, but they should make commercial swimming pools a little safer for the rest of us. Scott Wallace, News 4, Northwest Oklahoma City.
I need him. It's like part of me is gone. It hurts.
Bobby Joe Fritz was just 5.5 years old when he disappeared from his Campbellsport, Wisconsin home. That was on May 14th, 1983, more than a year ago. For his mother, the hurt is still there.
It's been hell. I still have dreams where I wake up crying for Bobby. It's hard on the kids, but we still talk about him as if any day he could come home. None of us have given up hope.
From the day Bobby Joe Fritz disappeared, hundreds of man-hours have been spent looking for him. There have been phone calls, some of them crank calls, and alleged witnesses, all of them checked out, none of them leading to Bobby Joe. For a while, Bobby Joe's father, Robert Fritz, had been a prime suspect. The divorce between Sharon and Robert Fritz had been particularly bitter, but Bobby Joe's father lives more than 300 miles from where the boy was last seen and apparently had a strong alibi.
The FBI has assured us they don't believe that Bobby Joe Fritz was taken by his father, and as Mr. Fritz has maintained all along, and at this point I guess we have no reason to doubt him that he took the child.
Bobby Joe was last seen with other children at a neighbor's house about a block from his home. He told his 16-year-old sister he was hungry and apparently headed home. But at the third corner of a triangle between where Bobby Joe was last seen and his home is a mill pond. It's that pond and the Milwaukee River it dams where the first searches took place. No sign of him was found. There's about a 25-mile-an-hour current in the river as it runs by the now vacant house. Bobby Joe's favorite toy is a stuffed monkey he called Bear, after a television animal character. Bear still waits for BJ to come home.
I love you, Bobby. I don't want you back.
Bobby Joe Fritz would be 6.5 now and might look more like his older brother, Tony. Blonde hair, blue eyes, a birthmark on his left thigh. Bobby Joe is still missing. Ron Majors for NBC News.
You just put no cells. No cells.
I already punched.
The sales tax business to me doesn't seem to be fair. I think the property owners haven't been had their They haven't had their taxes raised in years. And you got to be realistic. If you want to have good roads, good schools, good police, good firemen, you got to pay your fair share.
We definitely need it for the streets and everything. I mean, if that's what they're going to use it for. I mean, and if we know for a fact that's what they're going to use it for, then yeah, I would vote for it then. See that it's not necessary, then I vote no.
Kevin and Jamie Funkhauser entered the McLean County Courthouse today with only a ray of hope. Their attorney, Brian Dell, had filed two motions, one asking for a new trial, the other for a reduced or deferred sentence. But Judge Kenneth Love turned down both of those requests. The Funkhausers are members of the Church of the Firstborn in Lexington. On July 15, 1983, three-month-old Benjamin Funkhauser died of pneumonia. Jamie and Kevin refused their child any medical treatment. Last month, the McLean County jury convicted the Funkhausers on a second-degree manslaughter charge. Defense attorney Brian Dell will appeal that decision, but the counselor says the convictions will not change his client's religious beliefs.
Ordinarily, the purpose behind prison sentencing is to punish and to deter others. I think that in circumstances like this, even under the present law, you may find that people who have this kind of deep belief in their religion will not be deterred from following.
Dell has already initiated the appeal. Kevin and Jamie Funkhauser will remain free on $3,000 bond each until the appeals process is exhausted. Kurt Autry, News 4, Purcell.
Well, it's a lobbying effort, and I have no objections to that. Those who are for it should get out and work very hard to try to pass it. But they should do it on their own time, and they should not utilize things that belong to the taxpayers in the city to, in a sense, get in the taxpayers' pocket.
I think most of it is simply, as I say, an indication of a way to get Mr. Gilbert on television. I do think that we won't check it and be sure that there's nothing in here that is improper, but my impressions are, and of course I just got the letter a few minutes ago, but my impressions are that it's just the routine kind of thing that's going on every year.
A boiler at Midwest City Memorial Hospital has exploded. More than a dozen people are hurting. Firefighters and hospital personnel must make split-second life or death decisions.
Yes, pulse. Good pulse.
The situation worsens when a fire breaks out on the hospital's third floor, cutting off all power.
Stay here with her. You want back
Midwest City will probably never face a multiple disaster like this one, but emergency administrators want to find out if rescue workers could handle a real disaster.
We know that one of the critical areas when a real emergency hits, or disaster hits, is the coordination of information, having a command post and having all directions flow through a single channel to eliminate chaos and confusion. And that's the reason really we have the drills.
Midwest City nursing students served as disaster victims. The victims graded their rescuers' reactions.
They didn't know that they were supposed to be in it, but, considering they didn't know, they did pretty good.
The drill ended with a helicopter emergency airlift to area hospitals. Emergency administrators will analyze the practice disaster. The drill should help Midwest City officials be better prepared for the real thing. Scott Wallace, News 4 in Midwest City. Don Denman agreed to give up his State House seat in exchange for the government's dismissal of 3 federal extortion and mail fraud charges. Twice, federal court juries failed to reach verdicts on various complaints against the veteran lawmaker. Denman's Capitol colleagues had mixed reaction to his resignation.
I think it will certainly help heal that aspect over, at least in his district, and maybe people feel like there's been some sense of justice in that case, and others may feel like he's gotten off too easy. Others feel like maybe it shouldn't have happened at all, that he should have had to step down.
They tried him once, got a hung jury, tried him again. He got an acquittal on 3 of the charges. Had got a hung jury on the 3 others, and so I think that that would have to dictate a conclusion that there was quite a bit more smoke there than there was fire, and I'm delighted, really, at the outcome of it.
The government's prosecution of state lawmakers in the past year hasn't sent any politicians to prison, but it has sent a strong signal here to the state capitol, a signal that the government will aggressively go after state lawmakers if prosecutors suspect them of committing crimes. Scott Wallace, News 4 at the state capitol.
The biggest point that you could get across to any young person who decides to take it upon themselves to voluntarily absent themselves from wherever they're supposed to be, that might place them in a category as a runaway, but it certainly doesn't place them in a category of being a criminal. They've committed no criminal offense.
Here's the master bedroom.
It's certainly slower than what we expected for this time of year, and much of it's due to the interest rates and people expectations of what the interest rates will do. However, one thing they need to be aware of is that because there hasn't been that much demand for housing right now, the prices are pretty low.
The ad valorem director in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma Tax Commission. Money is available, according to our county auditor, for this $6,000 that I need. If it isn't forthcoming, then this office plans to file a mandamus suit against the county excise board and the county commissioners. We've checked with the state auditor's office and with the Oklahoma Tax Commission, and they advised us to do this.
In this particular case, with the benefit of hindsight, I thought perhaps, possibly, he was prejudiced. Prejudiced in the legal sense.
What do you mean?
I mean, that Judge Woodson wasn't out to get me. He wasn't out to get Monty Eddings. He had just been in the case so long that it was difficult for him to approach it with a clean slate, an open mind.
Well, on the first 2 counts, it carries up to 20 years, and on the third count, up to 10 years in the penitentiary.
While becoming an Oklahoma City firefighter can be exciting, it is also a very dangerous job. The people who train for this work are fully aware their lives can be placed in jeopardy at the sound of an alarm.
Keep the faith, fight those fires.
That doesn't matter to these 30 graduates at the Oklahoma City Fire Training Center. After 10 weeks of physical and mental preparation, it was time for this recruit class to receive badges and diplomas.
Mark, long.
They will still be on 1-year probation before considered permanent members of the department. The graduates were selected from a field of 500 applicants who wanted to become firefighters. Everyone who started the course finished.
Yes, sir. Hello.
For recruit Tim Wall, it was a very special time.
I had a little red fire truck and all that, but it was a hard 10 weeks. We went through a lot of training, a lot of phys ed, and a lot of ladder practices, hose practices, this and that. It's pretty tough, but we got a 30 good group of guys here. We'll all be good to go.
Fire training officers say they don't know when they'll receive another class of recruits. They just hope it's not another 2 years. Ed Stewart, News 4.
So many people do die of cancer, and it's kind of hard sometimes to do a living memorial to them. And this way they are doing something very real that they can reach out and touch in a way.
Prosecutors were trying to prove that Kenneth and Susan Blevins were guilty of murdering their 38-day-old daughter. The state had hoped to show that the Blevinses neglected their baby and therefore were responsible for her death. However, Judge Nafee ruled that the state case was based on neglect and therefore the Blevinses should face manslaughter, not murder charges. The judge gave lawyers for both sides a choice: try the Blevinses on manslaughter charges today, or send the case for further preliminary hearing and allow the state to try to substantiate its murder allegation. Both sides wanted a new preliminary hearing.
We feel the evidence in this case presents a much more aggravated degree of homicide than manslaughter in the first degree. We feel that we have the evidence that can support murder one, and we intend to try to do so.
We think that we'll have the option at a preliminary hearing, depending upon what the state does, to maybe even defeat this case at the preliminary hearing. we still contend that we have good defense to this charge, which we're not ready to spring on you, because that's going to be our little surprise for the DA.
We also wanted to try to get this bureaucratic process simplified. 3 different federal agencies involved in getting these checks out to the individual mineral owners, and no wonder there's a huge delay. So that was another reason for the meeting. And jump on and go through that one and look at them.
That I will perform work. That I will bear arms.
For 117 resident aliens, today marks a new beginning. After months of preparation, these honored few from 32 different countries are now citizens of the United States. But in the short time it took to pledge their allegiance to this country, hundreds of foreigners crossed the U.S. border illegally. But now it appears that millions of illegal aliens will also have a chance at a new beginning. Congress has passed a bill granting amnesty to aliens who entered America before 1982. The measure also places stiff fines on employers that hire illegal aliens. While many of these new citizens agree that the legislation is needed, one Mexican-American believes that a new law will not change old stereotypes.
I have noticed, in the times I've been in Texas and Oklahoma, that the stereotype of the wetback, for lack of a better term, exists, and a lot of people do suffer from that. A lot of Hispanics. Attitudes take quite a while to change. The legislation will help, policy will help, but it'll take a little bit of time.
These new Americans did not have the benefit of any amnesty legislation, but today no one seemed to mind becoming a citizen the good old-fashioned way.
This is a very happy occasion for me, and I'm very proud to be a citizen, American citizen, and finally getting the opportunity to vote, which has been a big thing for me.
Illegal aliens that qualify for amnesty will not automatically receive citizenship. Just like these new citizens, the aliens will have to follow a strict set of guidelines before they can pledge allegiance to this country.
Not only are we going to look into the statutes and the Constitution on suspension of members, the vacating of the seat, reinstatement procedures, we also are going to look into see how we can overcome, and I've read the Constitution, I've also read the statutes, I think very carefully, and I cannot see any place in it to where there was any intent that double pay be paid for the same job.
The advertisement was made, yes, sir.
It's discriminatory as applied to the smaller retailers, favoring the larger wholesaling houses, which can go over and buy at in effect, lower prices in these quantities.
Motivation to be able to eliminate direct import, so he does not have to worry about us
bringing in these items to service the state of Oklahoma and the consumers who want this type of merchandise. The Lafitte, Rothschilds, items like this would be eliminated out of the state of Oklahoma.
Draper, here. Davis Frank.
Other introductions. Mr. Kelly, House Bin Order. Members, take your conferences outside.
Hereby.
We have interpreted the precise language of the Constitution to mean exactly what it says, that as soon as the suspension is over, and assuming that he's lawfully reinstated into office, he's also entitled to his back pay, because that's what the Constitution provides.
This is Jeff Fowler. After the sales tax defeat yesterday, the wheels are already turning to reduce city trash pickup. Although the logistics haven't been worked out yet, News 4 has been told that once-a-week trash pickup will begin August 13th. In addition, the sanitation department will reduce its workforce by 14 employees. But public service officials say they don't know yet which employees will be affected. While declining to comment on camera today, Public Service Director Joe Chappell called the revamping of the pickup service a massive undertaking that will affect some 125,000 customers around the city. While saving nearly $2 million, making the change to once-a-week pickup is the first time a city department has undergone a complete systems change, according to Chappell. And meetings are already going on to devise new routes for trash collection, and most importantly, who gets their trash picked up when.
City officials can see this change is going to be a pain for consumers. For example, if your trash is currently picked up twice a week, say on Tuesday and Friday, under the new system it may be picked up only once on Mondays. So now much of the planning going on at City Hall is trying to figure out how to inform more than 100,000 people of these changes before August 13th. Jeff Fowler, News 4, Northwest Oklahoma City.
I'll answer this kind of indirectly. It's been increasingly difficult to align myself with a party whose leaders left their conservative constituents behind and reached out to the liberal special interest groups. I can no longer support a political party that has fought against efforts to curb federal spending. I can no longer support a political party that has fought attempts to once again allow prayer in our schools. I can no longer support a political party that has fought attempts to aid our neighbors in Central America who are fighting communism.
A fireworks stand can be a lucrative business at this time of year. After all, what would the 4th of July, less than a week away, be without fireworks? Well, the Del City Lions Club thought it'd be a quick and easy way to make some money for its organization. But it's created a bit of an awkward situation. You see, the stand's on Oklahoma County property, and that's perfectly legal. But it's right next to Del City. And in Del City, there's an ordinance that forbids the possession or storage of firecrackers. So what happens is you buy them here, but run the risk of your purchase getting confiscated by the Del City Fire Marshal when you leave this property.
Most people are real understanding about it. You know, the first ones didn't know why it was. It's hard for them to understand why the people can sell them right there and the people aren't allowed to leave with them.
I think fireworks are patriotic. I still think people are going to shoot fireworks. I think the people have the right to shoot fireworks if they want to.
The Del City Lions Club has no intentions of taking the stand down, but realizes with the fire marshal posted across the street that sales will probably not reach the $3,000 that the Lions were hoping for. Terry Cook, News 4 in Del City.